Did you know every 1 in 5 children are sexually assaulted before they reach the age of 18? 90% of those victims have all stated that their abusers was somebody that they knew. And sadly, only 63% of cases are actually ever reported. My name is Lakia, and I'm here to share with you the power of consent and why it is so important to teach it to our loved ones. Now, we can all pretty much agree that at some point in time in our life, we were taught about the birds and the bees, and we were taught about consent, and we can all pretty much agree that the conversation in itself made us a little squeamish, a little uncomfortable. Believe me, I'm not here to make you uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I am here to pretty much take what you already know and expound upon it. I'm going to share with you 3 main concepts surrounding consent. One is going to be the 5 principles of consent. The second one is going to be following through with those 5 principles of consent and how it empowers our loved ones. The third is going to be about creating a circle and trust and why it's so important. Now, when we think about consent, we think about 2 adults or 2 individuals going into a relationship in being intimate in some way, shape, or form. But according to defendinnocence.org, consent is far more than that. And there are 5 basic concepts that we need to understand. The first is going to be about respect, okay? Not just respecting your partner, but also respecting your children or respecting your siblings. Respecting their wishes, their lifestyle, their decisions, their choices. The second is going to be about boundaries, okay? What's comfortable for me may not be comfortable for you, and we have to understand that and we have to respect it. The third is going to be communication, which is huge for any relationship. Understanding that there are both verbal cues and nonverbal cues. Just because I might say something is okay verbally, if my body language is showing otherwise, you need to be able to pick up on that. The fourth is going to be about ability, which is the concept that not a lot of people pay attention to. Ability is basically the ability to give consent or not give consent. Does a child who's giving consent comprehend what they are giving consent to, or do they not? And I can testify to this, that when I was a child, my mother would always tell us not to ask her anything while she was asleep. Simply because while she was asleep, she was going to consent to anything just to be left alone. All right. So, for example, Mom, can I go outside? Yeah, Lakia, fine. Get out of my face. All right. Knowing that I was not allowed outside while she was asleep. But because I asked her while she was asleep, she gave me permission anyway. Even as a child, I knew to take advantage of that. The 5th concept of the principles of consent is going to be ongoing, okay? And what that basically means is that what is okay today is not necessarily going to be okay tomorrow. And so we always have to check and make sure that we are giving consent, and then allowing a child or allowing our loved ones or our partners know that they have the right to change their mind. You have the right to change your mind. Okay, so I want you for a second to think about back to the time when you first learned about consent. Maybe you learned about it in health class at school. Maybe it was a relative or a loved one that talked to you about what consent meant. Okay, and then I want you for a second to think about that time at maybe a family function or an event when sister so-and-so or grandma or grandpa, oh my goodness, you've gotten so big. Oh, come give me a hug. Get on my lap. They wanted to give you a hug, but you just weren't quite comfortable, okay? But because you didn't want to be disrespectful, because an adult gave you instructions or gave you order, you went ahead and suppressed those feelings of uneasiness and followed through anyway. Okay, I want you to understand that it is at that exact moment that our teaching about consent and the lessons that we have learned have been completely undone. Okay, on the one hand,